Welcome to All Things Considered CX, the podcast where we challenge the status quo of customer experience. Hosted by Bob Azman, this show is all about disrupting practices and redefining what it means to truly connect with customers. In this unhinged approach to CX, we're focused on building better experiences from the ground up. Each episode, Bob dives into the bold ideas, unconventional strategies, and fresh perspectives that are shaking up the world of CX. We're bringing you the voices that are pushing boundaries and changing the game. If you're ready to rethink how customer experience is done and drive real transformation, you're in the right place. Let's get into today's episode of All Things Considered CX.
Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really glad you're joining us today because Jack Walker is joining me. And this is an exciting time to have Jack joining us. A lot happening at Walker that he's going to share with us, but also Walker's view and Jack in particular's view of CX, I think will be really a timely discussion today. So Jack, welcome to the podcast. And if you would introduce yourself to our listeners, please.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bob, for having me on. Honored to be here and appreciate everybody listening in today. So my name is Jack Walker. Work for an organization called Walker. We're an 86-year-old privately held family business that has always been in the CX world. It's just looked many different ways over those 86 years. But it's all been back to the purpose of helping companies understand their customers or other stakeholders better and using that intel to improve future experiences. And today, we are one of the top service providers of Qualtrics technology in the North America region and really help companies get the most out of their investment there, as well as the broader reach of what they're trying to accomplish, obviously beyond just technology activation, with advancing the customer experience in their organizations to create economic value and competitive advantage for their customers. So honored to be in the position I am and to work with the great clients that we do each day.
That's great, Jack. And in case our listeners aren't familiar with how the company got started,
Sure.
It's a great story. Do you want to just give a synopsis of that, those early days of how it got started 86 years ago?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very proud to be associated with it. So started in 1939 by my great grandmother. Her first client was her husband's bank. And she went door to door asking people if they had heard an advertisement on the radio for her husband's bank. So pretty basic research, but obviously in 1939, maybe not so basic as we consider that today. I know another early client was the local grocery store, and she would go and interview housewives about their feelings about certain products and share that intel back to the grocery store manager, and they would make certain decisions on displays and how they stocked the store based on that. The 1940s, we, I think, developed one of the first test kitchens in the nation. So people would come in, try out different pancake mixes and, share what they liked or didn't like about different ones as consumer product companies were developing their newest products. The 60s brought the first computer, I think, into the company and created some automation to what was hand tabulation of research before that. 1970s brought call centers and obviously being able to capture intel and feedback at scale with that technology. The 90s brought the internet, and the 2020s, I think, has brought AI, which is now our next transformation from a generational technology that I think is going to reshape how CX gets done and all business gets done for that matter. So.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's the short of it.
That was really well done. And listeners, Jack didn't pay me to say this, but it's just a quality company. I've been associated with them for a number of years, and everybody I interact with, either at conferences or one-on-one and so forth. It's just quality people in a quality company, and I'm sure under Jack's leadership. And some of the things we're going to talk about that they're doing will continue to advance the company. So I really encourage you to get to know Walker.
Thank you very much, Bob.
You bet, Jack. My pleasure. So Jack, hey, I love when I have people on the podcast that talk to a lot of clients that are involved in CX, that are seeing things from a perspective that maybe is broader than some of us can if we're working in an individual company and so forth. So I'd love to hear your take on what is the state of CX, what are you seeing, hearing from your clients, and just in general your interaction with the CX profession.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we work with lots of different companies. The majority of our customers are Fortune 1000, but it's not exclusive in terms of who we do business with. But um, there's, I think, CX is sometimes good and it's sometimes bad. And for the companies that really obviously buy in and all the right variables to this is actually something we're genuinely focused on trying to do better, and we're going to invest in it in the right ways to do it better, that they're finding success. And then, the companies where that buy-in, especially from a genuine standpoint, is not all the way there, those companies struggle. And, CX gets questioned on, what's the value of this thing? It's really hard to measure ROI. Is this really the right and best way to be understanding what our customers' experience is and how we should do something with it? So I think some of the stuff is a tale as old as time, and a lot of it comes back to executive buy-in and ultimately getting the organization really committed to truly, genuinely improving the customer experience and not just doing this as a check of the box type administrative task. Outside of that, I think the CX leader is being challenged by some new and real realities that I think are challenging our clients and ourselves as Walker, as consultants, to how we guide our clients best in today's environment and absolutely tomorrow's environment. And I think one of the ones that's been always under attack is, the survey is dying or the survey is dead. And I don't disagree. I definitely don't buy into that all the way. It gets harder and harder from a response rate standpoint as it was several years ago. But I think there's always value, immense value in soliciting your customers for feedback. I think there's always going to be a time and place for that. That is a very valuable data point that has a much more higher dollar value in terms of its impact and value to your business as intel than other operational behavioral data points. But at the same time, other mechanisms exist that with technology for where it is today, that I think where we go to from a survey standpoint, a lot of times in our research of collecting and measuring the customer experience, it needs to be challenged, and rightfully so. It is challenged by that being the go-to mechanism to do so, especially on a standalone standing. So a lot of our focus right now is for all the customer intelligence that lives in an organization, not just what we call experience data or feedback. How can we pull that all that customer intelligence together to help share the full story of what's going on from a customer point of view, and not be so reactive and rear view mirror in terms of our customer experience and what we do about it. So that's a lot of our focus right now.
Makes a lot of sense. And Jack, I'm reminded of, oftentimes I was approached and somebody would say, "Hey, I need to get a new CRM, or I need a new telephone system." I'd say, "Why?" And they'd say, "Because our customer experience sucks."
Yeah.
And I'd say, "Well, what's your customer experience strategy?" "We don't know, but we know we need a CRM." "Well, why do you think that?" "Well, that'll cure everything." So what I'm curious about is when customers come to Walker, do they have something in mind already? "Hey, Jack, we need a survey," right?
Yeah.
And you kind of get beneath the covers and there's no strategy and so forth, or is it all in a nice box and they're ready to go and you do the survey? I'm curious to what experiences you have with your clients.
Yeah, well, it's a spectrum there, for sure. A lot of times that is the go-to. Hey, we want to get this survey stood up and be able to measure, the health of our customer base right now. Fine, good thing to probably do, but okay, well, what's driving that? And let's pause here before we start doing something. Like, what is the business question we're trying to figure out, or the issue that the business is experiencing that we're specifically going to try to do some research and collect some intel about that ultimately will help better inform what we do moving forward to create better results for the company. So is the company losing customers at a rate that is higher than what they had previously? Are they attempting to grab, increase their market share, et cetera? Ultimately, what is the business question or objective we're trying to reach, and how can we design, however we do customer experience listening or survey for that matter, to achieve that objective, if that is the right solution or not. So a lot of that is what I view as part of the value we have to provide as consultants, that we've done this before. We work with hundreds of clients every day. And we know that is one of the most common pitfalls that people get into when they just jump in to customer experience. And you have to pause and first be able to tie it back to how is this exactly going to create business value, and get really specific about that.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine too that once you've established that, then it gives you a measurement point to come back and say, this is what you wanted to achieve. This is what we achieved. And by the way, I didn't mean to minimize Walker Research. They do a lot more than a
Yeah.
survey. So listeners, trust me, there's a lot of services there. But so that kind of goes to my next question with you and I know you're going through a brand refresh right now, and I'd love to learn more about that. As you've taken the helm at Walker and what you see and what that entails.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'd been 10, 15 years since the last time we took a look at that. And I think there's always a healthy time period probably to take a look and refresh things. And it's not a drastic change, I think, from, ultimately we're not trying to be something we're not, but I think set out to do so because we felt that the brand that we had prior to middle of this summer was not really projecting and having the identity of really, I think, the true and unique value that we're providing our customers in the marketplace. And previously it was a little bit more kind of too heavy on just like a service provider of customer research services. When in reality, I think while we do that in the most basic fundamental form of part of our value delivery for clients, I think what helps make us unique is, and what hopefully stands out in our refreshed brand is pairing the technical expertise of the technology you have to leverage in order to do XM or CX to the best you can in today's world, paired with what we believe we have good, really operational expertise within companies. And that gets down to the change management aspect of doing CX well. To your earlier point of, let's just get a CRM. Well, it's not that easy to, ultimately change the culture of a company to really rally around the customer's experience and use that moving forward. And really, we wanted to capture not only for kind of pairing both of those expertises, but what really the company has been for 86 years is a trailblazer in our industry of, as technology advances, we move with the technology. And we sense, that next evolution is currently underway, and we're focused on yet again helping our clients in the market trailblaze into the next technological advancement for how CX gets done best of breed.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that comes through with the new brand.
That's got to be a challenge in itself, because technology is accelerating at a pace that just is unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
And how do you keep up with it?
Well, I think we have to practice what we preach. So we ourselves have to stay up to date. And then I think we've got to challenge our clients, as well as be challenged by some of our clients who want to be on that, maybe not the bleeding edge, but the leading edge of utilizing the technology and getting the advantage in the marketplace by being an early adopter for what will be plenty of laggards in that arena. So I think it's part push, part pull in terms of how it ultimately shakes out. But like all things in business, if you're not reacting to technology advancements, then the market will leave you behind. So it's it's a matter of survival and flourish to do so. So
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your brand refresh is going better than a few other companies have had brand refreshes
oh yeah.
recently. So
Yeah, it probably
that's
helps we're a smaller company, but yeah, I don't think we've done anything controversial like some of the things that have been in the news. That's for sure.
yeah, it's been crazy. So that leads into your concept of unified XM, and I like this
Yeah.
concept when I read about it. So tell us a little bit about what that means for you and for Walker and your clients.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think, oftentimes we as CX leaders, one of our pitfalls is to over rely on what we call experience data or X data. The ultimately, feedback from the customer about the experience, which again, I want to be crystal clear. I am a super pro supporter of that, clearly, in terms of very key data that should be part of a huge part of the intel for informing the current state of the customer experience and how we measure it moving forward. But I think what is underutilized and is now definitely more available in the digital world we are today is behavioral data. A couple examples would be digital analytics about people's experiences on websites, how they interact with websites, or call center interaction data. So that's behavioral or B data. And then operational data would be, financial, demographic type information about your customer. Maybe if you're a distributing business, like the time it takes for an order to get fulfilled or delivered. It's really, and then those concepts of behavioral, operational, and experience data, box data, really a holistic understanding and intentionality about measuring and improving the customer experience and realizing that what wasn't as possible in the past, but is ever possible, and the increasing reality of today's world is that all of that data exists across the company's technology stack. And how can we be of service to our customers to unify that data together? And as that data gets unified in more sophisticated and powerful ways, what will come from that from an experience management perspective to improve our CX leaders' ability and impact within their organization and ultimately the results that drive for that organization.
Mm-hmm. Jack, I've been in contact centers for 25 years, and every new technology introduction, we immediately thought of a way to cut costs.
Yeah.
And what I hear you talking about is kind of turning the tables on that to say, don't overlook all the data. When you talk about behavioral characteristics, there's so much rich data. I've told this story in the past, but we were a Minnesota-based company, and every January I'd get all these requests to go visit customers in Miami, Orlando, San Diego from Minnesota-based people because they were trying to get out of the cold weather.
Yeah.
And I'd say, there's a 500-person call center down the hallway there. All you need to do is sit there and listen to customers, and you'll learn a whole bunch in just a few hours. And I just think that what you're talking about is tapping into all this knowledge that's collected on a minute-by-minute basis in any interaction. It doesn't have to be a contact center. It could be field sales, whatever it is. And turning that around for companies has got to be really rich in terms of the ability to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll just give a little more tangible example here, I think, of what is possible, but I don't think is being capitalized yet by CX leaders in the marketplace, but will be a reality definitely across everybody in the not too distant future, and an advantage for people who try to pursue it faster than that. So you think about your experience with like ChatGPT or Gemini or one of these AI chatbots. Your ability to natural language type in exactly what you're looking for, and it returns an answer. You have to trust it, but it's pretty good in many cases. The concept of this customer 360 view, this 360 view of the customer, I kind of rolled my eyes about that for the longest periods of time because it's just so hard to create that and then ultimately build a dashboard, a static dashboard that I think ultimately produces that. But I think that is a reality now for what AI can do if you unify data together, point it to a chatbot that you build on top of that unified data layer of customer intelligence, of behavioral, operational, and experience data, and use a chat GPT like chat experience to interact with that data and return data answers back to you. So how powerful could that be for like a B2B software company account manager to go into a customer 360 AI assistant and type in, hey, give me the list of accounts that I own that are coming up for renewal in the next 90 days. List and rank them by an experience weighted score that identifies the health of the relationship from experience feedback. Tell me what customers are most complaining about or calling out as issues with the current customer experience from recent verbatims, and give me the next best action that I can take to help potentially improve and retain this business and turn it around to a more loyal customer. And obviously, if it's got the right data pointed to it, it's going to spit back a really powerful answer that is way more in the moment and impactful and driving value for that organization than what we have today. And that's just, I think, one example of, I get tired of talking about AI, but it's real, and that example will be built out, and we want to build that out with our customers because we see huge potential from that standpoint.
Oh, it's got, yeah, I can't imagine how great a potential it is. A few years ago, I was working with a client, and I said, it was a B2B client. I said, when was the last time I was addressing the senior leadership team. I said, when was the last time any of you talked to a customer? And of course, the sales leader raised his hand. He talks to customers every day, but nobody else did. And they said, well, we have thousands and thousands of customers. And I said, I get it, but why don't we pull a list of your customers by revenue? And of course, they did have thousands and thousands of customers, but the classic, 80-20 rule, and you could see it in these revenues. It was like the top 10 customers were producing 80% of the revenue, and then there was a dramatic fall off.
Yep.
And there weren't that many customers in that category, and nobody had talked to them. And I was like, let's stop here. I know you brought me in to help with CX, but let's go out and talk to those customers. That's a great first step to do that. And what you're talking about is then bringing a lot of other data together to create a picture that just must be really powerful.
Yeah, and making it easy on the person in the organization who is a customer of the CX team's data, right? To make that as easy as possible. Instead of going to Salesforce or your CRM system for one piece of information, then you jump over to Qualtrics or Medallia or SurveyMonkey for another, and then you're into the ERP system to understand financial data. Like, ultimately, if we can get this data unified in a central data layer of customer intelligence, that can, and then use a chat-like experience, that is absolutely possible, and you don't have to go search multiple different tools, applications, different dashboards to try to find and piece together information. And we see that has humongous potential for ultimately CX leaders providing huge impact to drive in their organizations.
Mm-hmm. No question. And that goes to what you've characterized as better business performance. So if you've got all that data, and now what's hot in CX right now is AI, ROI, really big, and proving the ROI of CX. And what you're suggesting here is that that's exactly what you're able to do with that data.
Yep. Absolutely.
And not let the data sit there, right? And not
or make it a whole heck of a lot easier. So, you still have to connect many steps in CX in terms of, hey, here's the insight we produced through our work with CX and all the steps it takes to get to ultimately the business value creation. But, doing what I described, I think will make that conversation even easier than what it is today to how to get there.
No question about it. Listeners, we're talking to Jack Walker, Walker Research. This has been a fascinating conversation. Jack, before I let you go, I have to ask you to look into your crystal ball and tell us, where are we going with Unified XM and the future of the profession?
Absolutely. Well, I think what we've put out is simple in concept in terms of, hey, yeah, just connect a bunch of customer intelligence together, but really difficult in reality. Yet, I think that will be the reality in the not too distant future, and the opportunity that companies have to create a better experience for their customers and thus competitive advantage for themselves by pursuing this faster and leveraging the technological advancements that are now possible here within the last few years. That creates a humongous opportunity for companies in terms of leveraging customer intel and putting it in the hands of their people across the organization to go create better customer experiences more in real time than what it gets done today. And I think that is super exciting. There's so much uncertainty about how this plays out, but with uncertainty creates tons of opportunity for, especially for those who are able to figure it out. And we're committed to that vision of Unified XM and helping make that a reality for the companies we work with. And honored to do so.
That's great. Jack, if our listeners want to learn more about Walker and so forth, how is the best way for them to do that?
Sure. Well, our website's walkerxm.com. Go hopefully check out our new updated website with our new brand identity, and hope you enjoy it. And then you can try to find me on LinkedIn. There's a few Jack Walkers, but if you type in Jack Walker and experience management or customer experience, I'm sure you'll end up locating me, and I'd be happy to connect and chat. So.
Outstanding. This has been a great conversation, Jack. We appreciate your time and wish you the best with the brand refresh and where we're headed. And we'll have to circle back in a few months or a year and so forth and say, where are you at, Jack, and what's happening now? Because this is like you've so well articulated, it's a evolving almost daily in terms of what's happening within the Unified XM.
I would love to, Bob, and be honored to do so, and really have enjoyed the conversation today. And thank you for inviting me on the podcast.
Absolutely. We've enjoyed it. So listeners, as always, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your networks and stay tuned for more podcasts in the future as we kick off our new season this year.